Focus on Geek Blur, the show you can't ignore. Wayne and Kevin diving deep into all things galore. Comic book, movie, sci-fi, and action thrill. Reviewing new TV shows, we keep it real, real. Reminiscing the Attitude Era, wrestling at its peak. Nostalgia from the 80s and 90s, memories we seek. Pineapples for our rings, a unique touch. Geek culture in our blood, we love it so much. Geek Blur, we love it so much. Geek Blur, where we talk about it all, from superheroes to wrestlers. We stand tall, Ray and Kevin, the dynamic duo in sight. Geek Blur, shining bright, shining bright. Did you hear about Pluto? That's messed up, right? Geek Blur, taking you on a nostalgia flight. From movies to TV, we cover it all. Join us and every week we'll have a ball. Shuffle.
What's going on?
What's happening?
How we doing?
Good,
Not
good.
much. Busy week. Lots of stuff to talk about. I actually made the trip to the movies, and the first time in 3
Long
months,
time.
2 months. Got
Deadpool.
Regal Unlimited.
Wasn't Deadpool the last one you saw?
I did see Beetlejuice, but yeah, it was
That's right.
Deadpool
Okay,
before
I forgot
that.
about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I saw 2 movies, so we're gonna talk about that. 2 big opening movies this weekend. Got a TV show, brand new TV show I'm binging. We'll talk about that. And Kevin's been trying to get me to watch for years. And first, we're gonna start off with a Fat Fucks. The Fat Fucks are back. Yeah, you know I'm from River, but the Fat Fucks are back. Motherfucker, show me the Fat Fucks. Well, it's happened. I don't have the picture on here. I forgot it. But December 3rd, the McRib is coming back to McDonald's.
Yeah, for the last time only again.
For the
They say that
last time.
Every year. They bring it back every December and say every year it's the last time.
However, this time is a little different. Starting on November 25th, very limited edition, half-gallon jugs of the McRib barbecue sauce are going on sale for $20, $19.99. So go and run to your local McDonald's to go.
That barbecue sauce
pick up
isn't that
this.
good.
I gotta tell you, that barbecue sauce is disgusting. So
Okay, thank you.
if you wanna,
I thought you were gonna
if
say
you wanna
some
go
weird
grab
thing
that,
like-
go ahead.
I
No,
thought you were going to talk about
It's
how
not
you
worth-
putting grape jelly in your mac and cheese again or something.
that's not grape jelly. It's strawberry jelly, number 1. But yes, it's fantastic. But not the sauce. No, we don't need this. Limited edition is probably going to be sold out. It's coming out on Monday as we record. So, let's talk about a couple of subjects with some sports topics going on right now. Let's jump into a Teach Ray Sports. This is the theme to Teach Ray Sports. We needed a theme for Teach Ray Sports. I couldn't think of anything that would be original. I stole this instrumental from the Gary Shanley Show. This is the theme to Teach Ray Sports. This is the theme to Teach Ray Sports. First and foremost, congrats to the Balls.
2024 NBA champions, the Bulls. You're Celtics, right?
There you go, bud. Spending the last couple of months in presidency in total delusion. But, yep. The Celtics went to the White House.
Yep.
Was
they're
introduced
playing
by Joe
Washington
Biden.
tonight. Yep.
Okay. But
Next
the
time
big
they go, it'll
sports,
be fast food probably because that's what Trump serves to all the athletes. Fast food.
the big sports topic that we're going to talk about this week is everybody was talking about it up until the middle of the week where it kind of dropped off. But the big hype last weekend was Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Yep.
And everybody our age was hoping that Mike Tyson would knock this motherfucker out because he's an internet influencer. We don't like that. How this kid got popular and these weird internet videos and memes and vines, however he became famous. But we knew from the get go that this whole thing was a ruse from the beginning. I mean, we knew
Yeah.
that they were just fucking with, and when the actual fight happened, for sure, that's exactly what happened. Whether they admitted it or not, there was definitely some holding back. You could tell in the whole entire fight. And I'm pissed that I stayed up until after midnight to watch it because I don't.
You
usually
watched
do
the
that
entire
type of
thing?
I sure the hell did. First and foremost, I also saw this live. Mike Tyson's ass shown live on Netflix. I'm sure this was also a ploy for ratings because this was definitely a planned segment.
Just to get something for him to talk,
Yes.
them to talk about. Yeah.
His son was doing the interview with the microphone, and he gives him a kiss on the cheek and turns around, and that's the sight you saw on Netflix. And a lot of people were like, "What the hell's going on?" The other thing that I noticed, between all the back and forth for the fight, at the very end, the last 10, maybe 5 seconds of the bout, the last round, Jake Paul bows to Mike Tyson, which is cool, respect. But if Mike Tyson had punched him right there when he was off his guard and won and knocked him out, that would have been the best ending to that fight ever. But of course, it didn't happen. The meme took off. The other thing that everybody was talking about was Mike Tyson biting his glove, and
Yes.
Ariel was at the end asking him, "Why were you biting your glove?" And Mike Tyson's like, "Well, I have a biting fixation." Of course, that line was
Yeah.
planted. This was the biggest ruse in sports history as far as boxing is concerned, I'm sure. But
Was that the first time you ever saw Ariel Helwani? Because remember, you
I've seen interviews.
Okay.
I've seen interviews. Yeah,
He was
that's
the guy
what
who
I've
used to
seen.
interview
The
Chael all
Chael.
the time.
Yep.
He's good. I like him a lot.
Initially, the initial numbers for it, 65 million people watched last weekend. Over the 5-day, I think up until the middle of the week, that number jumped up to 108 million viewers worldwide. And the biggest, most streamed global sporting event ever, because this is global. I did watch the undercard. I thought the undercard was great. The women's
the
match
women's
before
match
this
was
was
awesome.
fantastic. Yeah.
How was your stream?
But
Did it
this
buffer a lot?
was, I had perfect stream the whole
Okay.
entire time. I think one time in the beginning, the one thing that I wanted
one time in the
that I
beginning
didn't,
for me too.
the one thing that I wanted to see, which I know was very famous for Mike Tyson fights and boxing in general, is Michael Buffer was a big missing factor to this. I wanted to see something like that, but we saw Michael Buffer in WCW, so I feel like I saw enough Michael Buffer. The other thing that happened the night after, and I wanted to talk to you about, was John Jones. Now I know, is he a great UFC fighter? Is he the best fighter they've ever had? That's what I keep hearing this week.
He hasn't lost since 2009 when he was 22 years old. He's had one draw since against Daniel Cormier. He's beaten pretty much everyone, obviously, that he's faced. He had that little situation where he hit that pregnant woman when he was on cocaine. But they swept that right under the rug. Good old Dana White, who's best friends with Trump. Trump at this event, I texted you that. Very surprised that this close to the election.
It was announced the day
there.
before. It was announced the day before he was going to show up.
He goes to every UFC anyways.
Yeah.
And because he helped save the UFC back in the day. He went right over to Joe Rogan and hugged him. And leading up to the election, one of the advertisers was like, told Dana White to stop promoting Trump or stop showing Trump or something, where they pull their advertising. And Dana White, love him or hate him, basically responded to them was, "Get fucked." He was like, Donald Trump is the only reason why we have a business right now. Because when nobody else would let UFC into their buildings, Trump would. So for a long time, there was probably the only arena that ran for like 2 years was Trump's. So he owes a lot to Trump. So Trump's at like every UFC, and of course I honestly think him going on Joe Rogan's podcast and Kamala not going by extension is what helped win him the election, especially with the younger voters. Because she wanted Joe to go to her place. She would have to listen to the questions beforehand. Joe Rogan doesn't interview; he just talks to people, so he wouldn't even come with questions prepared.
And I think she only asked for like an hour, 45 minutes too.
An hour, and everything had to be vetted by her people.
Joe doesn't do that.
Yeah, Joe does not do that. Like, Joe's just a conversational podcast. He's not going to interview you. Like, obviously, he'll have questions for you when you're on, but for the most part, like, he'll ask a question, then everything just goes off on tangents about whatever else. So I think that was a huge thing. Not saying it was the biggest thing, but I think it was one of the bigger things for the younger people, anyways, is having Trump on that podcast. So, of course, Trump's going to be at, like, every UFC. It'll be interesting how many he goes to when he's president. I can't remember because I didn't watch a lot of UFC when he was president because, like, COVID hit and I really just wasn't into it. There wasn't a lot of fighters I cared about. Like, I would tune in to see, like, John Jones or somebody like that. Connor, obviously, but I don't really remember if he was at a lot of stuff when he was president.
Right. So yeah, that's our sports talk for this week. I want to know a little bit about John Jones. I know he's he did the Trump dance in the middle of the ring in front of Trump, and I thought that was.
And then he gave
funny.
him the belt afterwards.
Yeah, I saw that
Trump
too.
The belt. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get into politics. I know you did mention off pod that you did watch the Apprentice movie. Do you want to give your quick reaction to it without getting into politics?
It doesn't do anything about politics anyway, so I'll just give a quick review on it.
Well, it's set like in the 80s, right? Before he was
from 80 to like 89. I feel like it went through like his brother dying and stuff like that, which happened right after it started. So I think it starts off. It might even start off in like 79. But yeah, it just takes you through like his entire like kind of how he learned how to like finesse the system as far as taxes goes, stuff like that. Legal troubles. I don't think Trump liked the movie, is my guess.
No, I'm pretty sure there was an injunction there, and
yes,
there was at least threat of one.
But doesn't really look, or he doesn't give you that Trump like vibe.
I got that from the trailer. Yeah.
At the end of the movie, he looks just like him. But then again, also the other thing I was thinking is like this is like Trump 30 years ago, so like he's changed a lot. Plus, everyone that does an imitation of him now does it as a joke. So, like, obviously, like, he's not like that all the time. So, yeah, it was all right. Like, it's worth watching. Like, it's one of those movies that, like, if it's on Netflix, like, check it out. It's, like, 3 out of 5. Like, it's whatever. I just like him as an actor, so that's why I saw it. And the guy from Succession is fucking awesome in it.
Okay, cool.
I forget his name in Succession, but Roy. I think it's Roy in Succession.
Yes.
Is really good. Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk about what we watched this week. We watched Shrinking episode 7. The end of the episode was fantastic. Sets up pretty much what we knew was going to be happening. Jason Segel's character is going to meet the man who killed his wife. It's coming up soon. And we're getting about 3 episodes left, I think, of this season.
Ending scene, you're like, who's he staring at in the restaurant? And you see his daughter, and you're like, why is he just, like, staring at her? And then it, like, pans out, and you see the guy that killed his wife, and his daughter's just like, oh, fuck, because they were, like, laughing and having a good time. Yeah, great episode. I like this show a lot. And it sucks that it's over next week.
Is it next week? 8? I thought it was 10. I couldn't remember.
Is it 10? I thought it was 8.
I think. Oh, maybe it is. I don't know.
We got to get our shit together.
Yeah, very good show though. It's on Apple TV. You want to talk about Cobra Kai? You did watch the second part of the last season on Netflix.
Yes. Pretty good. Better than the first part.
Okay.
Sholo is awesome. I love that kid to death. Blue Beetle.
Yes, he's awesome.
Yeah, overall, it's just a very, very good show. It's just like easy. Like each season basically is the length of a movie, for the most part. Like especially these, like when they're broken down like this, because most of the earlier episodes were like 20, 25 minutes, and these ones are all like a little bit longer because there's only 5 parts. Yeah, overall, it's gonna be interesting to see how it finishes. And the movie, I guess, takes place 2 years after the events of this show. That's how they're getting around this show and the kids in it. But yeah, I mean, I like pretty much all the characters. They brought in some new people this season and like a new dojo to kind of compete against. But yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Cool. You also wanted to talk about Dune. I didn't watch Dune Prophecy. The premiere was last week on Max. What are your reactions to the first episode so far?
Very good.
Okay.
I liked it. It's just it's Dune, so it's very slow. You get to
That's
see
what I was afraid of.
You get to see the creation of the voice. And there's this mystery character. Like the last 15 minutes is what's going to keep me intrigued going forward because something happens and there's kind of like a mystery character. You see him, the dude with the long hair is kind of a mystery character. But very well acted, very well scored. Everyone was really good. Mark Strong, of course. We always talk about him being pretty much great in everything he does.
Yes,
it continues here. So
he's a chameleon. He can pretty much do anything.
Looking forward to seeing what happens with this dude. Very, very questionable, suspicious character he is.
Now this is set how many? Is it 100 years? 1,000? Okay,
Yeah.
1,000 years. Wow.
I think it's
That's maybe
1,000.
that's what's
Like,
taken.
it's like 1,108 years, and it's also based off of one of Frank's kids' books, not one of Frank's books that he wrote for Dune.
It's kind
So
of
it's
strange.
taken from there. So yeah,
Didn't he have a part in
I
this?
think he's a producer.
Director, producer. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
the showrunner is a female. I forget
Okay.
her name.
One last TV show we're going to talk about is the one you've been talking years for me to get into, especially after I watched Dexter. Before I got into Dexter, you were telling me to watch this show, and I finally did this week. I got into Better Call Saul, season 1. Finished the whole season this week. Bob Odenkirk coming back with his character Saul that was created in Breaking Bad by Gilligan, Vince Gilligan, right? Is his name.
No, Vince Gilligan did Breaking Bad, but the showrunner for this is the guy that actually created the character, and I'm blanking on his name right now. It's pissing me off. But
Right.
yeah,
But the show, you mentioned to me, season 1 and 2 is kind of the slow part of it, which I actually enjoyed this season.
yes, I'm glad you did.
When you get to
'Cause
season
if
3,
you like season
it
1,
picks up.
you're gonna love 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you like the first 2 seasons, that's all I'll say.
Okay.
Because then they start bringing in characters, and you get
Which we
to
saw.
see a little bit before
We
Breaking
saw
Bad.
that a little.
So-
We saw that a little bit in this season. We saw Mike.
Yep.
Mike is a big part of it.
Yep.
I love his backstory, kind of how he ends up in Albuquerque, how he ends up over in the West, and what happens. He's a police officer in Philadelphia, I believe, and
Yep.
he's a corrupt cop, and how he got off the force and how all that happened was revealed in this season. And he's also a court parking booth attendant
Yes.
at the courthouse. That's how he meets Saul, and that's how they become acquaintances. Kind of.
Yes.
He's kind of busting balls of
Yep.
Saul throughout the beginning of the season. But
Yeah, it was a good dynamic. Also, I will let you know, you never finished the Jesse movie, right?
I have not. No, I'm gonna watch that.
Watch that
probably in
between-
entirety.
Between before the last season. Watch it before the last season.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
That's
We'll
when
do
I
that.
would watch that movie, if I was you. Because I
Yep.
can't exactly remember when, but they do talk about everything that happened, or the stuff that happened in that movie, in the last season. Because this takes you past that movie and stuff. So
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, because you mentioned it takes the whole universe.
it
and
closes
creates,
out everything.
Closes everything.
Yep.
Creates
I
closure.
can't wait.
Cool.
We're gonna watch the last episode of the show together because it's
Okay.
fucking great, and I want your
Yep,
immediate
we'll do that.
reaction.
Okay, we'll do that. Also, Michael McKean, who is Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. He's in
Yep.
he's in Spinal Tap. Everything. He
Wasn't
comes
he
in
in
to play Chuck.
Brady Bunch movie? Was that him? The neighbor?
Maybe that. Yeah, maybe. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen that. But he comes in playing Saul's brother Chuck, and he's a lawyer who works for a big firm, and the whole story is Saul is a
Jimmy
degenerate.
McGill.
Jimmy is his name. His name isn't Saul in the first season,
Yep.
but you get the origin of that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he's always trying to impress his brother, who is a big time lawyer. So he ends up going to the bar online. I can't remember the name of it. It was some online school for Indians or something. I can't remember what it was, Native American, but Navajo maybe. But he goes to gets his degree, becomes a lawyer. And he works a lot of really low cases in the totem pole as far as a lawyer would be concerned. Retirement and old people needing work for wills and stuff. But he's always trying to impress his brother, and this series takes it towards the end of it. You realize that his brother just thinks that Saul Jimmy is just a waste of time.
Yep.
He's not a good lawyer. He's been a degenerate his whole life. There's no way that you could ever surpass him, especially when he cheated almost his way to get to the top and become a lawyer. Tuco, who we saw in
Yes.
Breaking Bad, comes
Yep.
in the first or second episode.
Yep.
There's a little story arc with him. And you also get the origin of Saul's name, where it comes from. In one of the episodes when he was younger, I believe he's either in jail or somewhere. He mentions to one of his people that he's talking to that Saul, good man.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty funny. Not a lot happened in this season, although you get the dynamic between him and his brother.
Yep.
The other woman, I'm not sure about her. I know they must have
that's
a
the thing
relationship
is,
going forward.
the whole question is, she wasn't on Breaking Bad. Kim Wexler was not on
Right.
Breaking Bad. So
Right.
what happens to her? And
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we know something's going on there. So, yeah, great show, and we're looking forward to getting into that. We'll talk about this every so often, but so this month we've been getting into basketball movies, and we went to Above the Rim this week. This stars Tupac, 1994, Dwayne Martin, Marlon Wayans, right out of In Living Color.
Yep.
Wood Harris, of course, The Wire. Bernie Mac, before he was really famous. Henry Simmons, he played the big, tall basketball player. He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The soundtrack, produced by Death Row, produced by Dr. Dre before all the beef happened. This is Tupac right before or during when he went to prison. I don't know the whole timeline of everything around
This was
time.
93, so I think it was filmed right before he went to prison.
Okay.
I don't think he'd cut in the
He wasn't-
yet either, so.
He wasn't on Death Row. However, the soundtrack was done by Death Row.
Yeah.
This is also the first single for that soundtrack was Nate Dogg and Warren G's Regulate, which is a huge phenomenon of a song. Great movie. However, the next movie, the bonus review, is 10 times better. Juice. 1992. This was Tupac's acting debut. Also Omar Epps, which I did not know that. This came out in 1992 about these little hoodlums that live in
Inner city
Harlem.
kids, yeah.
Inner
Yeah.
city somewhere, and they all are creating amok. They're robbing, they're stealing, well, Tupac goes on this weird rampage. Almost like he tastes blood, and all of a sudden he goes nuts. And by the end of the movie, he's just gone completely berserk.
Yeah.
And he ends up. I don't want to give this big spoilers away what he does to his friends, but you can kind of get the picture. Like I said, acting debut is Tupac. Omar Epps also starred Samuel L. Jackson. This was before. Hold on a minute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. Hold on a sec.
Huh. Interesting.
Technical difficulties. Something's going on with my headphones. You hear me?
I can. Well,
Oh, there you are.
this
I
makes for some
don't
good
know what
podcasting.
happened.
This is some good
Yeah, I don't know
stuff.
what happened. I looked up and I saw they were disconnected. Acting debut of what did I say? Where did I leave off? Samuel L.
Tupac,
Jackson.
yes. Okay. So
Right before Pulp Fiction, he had been in a couple movies, Coming to America and things like that. A lot of hip hop artists from New York. You got Queen Latifah. You got Tretch. She's from L.A. You got Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. Bokeem Woodbine. I didn't see him in the movie, but I saw he was in the IMDb credits. And Donald Faison had a really quick cameo. This is before he was in Clueless and before he did a lot of stuff in acting later on, Scrubs and whatever. But great movie, better than our football movie, our basketball movie this month. But yeah, really good. And this is I'm surprised how great of an actor. Well, I shouldn't be surprised because I knew a lot about Tupac, where he came up.
Yeah.
And basically he
went to an acting
grew up
high
in an
school.
acting high school. So not surprised to see him acting great in these two movies. But also watched JFK 1991. First time. We talked about it a lot lately because it was music done by John Williams. We've been talking a lot about John Williams in the last year. So I wanted to watch it around the time, the GOAT, exactly. I wanted to watch it around the time of JFK's murder, and that was exactly 50 years ago. 50 or 60, I can't remember the timeline of that, but yeah, 40, I don't remember. But
It's
it can't be 40.
51, right? Because he
50.
died in 63.
Yeah. So I want to talk about it right around this time of year. Written, directed by Oliver Stone, who's done a ton of great movies, but all-star cast. The cast in this is ridiculous. Right down to Kevin Costner in his prime, Ed Asner, Vincent D'Onofrio, Gary Oldman as Lee Harvey Oswald, which I thought was fantastic in this movie, Jack Lemmon, Sissy Spacek, Brian Doyle Murray, that is Bill Murray's brother, and he plays the guy who shot Oswald. He did a fantastic job. Michael Rooker is in this, and we've seen him. This is the earliest movie I think I've seen him in. and then Mallrats would be the second one. Joe Pesci, Kevin Bacon, Donald Sutherland, Tommy Lee Jones, who plays kind of this gay-like character, Walter Matthau, Laurie Metcalf. This is right around the time of Roseanne. Wayne Knight, right around the time of Seinfeld, and John Candy in a weird role for him, because we're so used to John Candy. This is right before he died, but we're so used to him being the life of the party in a comedy. But this is one of his very only drama roles he ever did. And Jim Garrison, who's the character that Kevin Costner played, was actually the real life person. Came in and played Jack Warren, who did the Warren Files. He had a quick cameo in this as well. Like I mentioned, music by John Williams, and it wasn't a lot of music, but when it was used perfectly. I mean, it's John Williams, how he's going to use the music eventually, and I think it's mostly set in a courtroom environment, and like I told you off pod, I think this is what I expect Lincoln to be kind of like as well. The one thing that surprised me about this movie was it used not only the Zapruder film, which we've seen the shot going to the head and his head flying back and all that, but it showed full autopsy photos of JFK, which I don't think was ever shown besides this movie, unless you went out and actually looked for it, which is very weird, very macabre, but it's cool for the movie. It works.
Before
They're in
the
the courtroom
internet too,
setting.
so you couldn't just look it up.
Right, yeah. So yeah, it didn't really take off. It couldn't virally. So yeah, very, very, very good movie though. Long movie, but good movie. Another long movie, but not that good, was Megalopolis. This pile of trash is probably one of the worst movies I've seen this year, and I couldn't tell you exactly what it is, because this movie, we've talked about it before. It's a retelling of Rome being built by a character named Caesar, who is Adam Driver. It's kind of like the new Rome set in a modern world. It reminded me a lot of Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet when he went back and did Romeo and Juliet in a modern time. Reminded me a lot of like Francis Ford Coppola wrote this, produced it, came in and tried to tell the story of Rome. Well, it's different because, spoiler, Adam Driver doesn't die at the end. But however, he's Caesar, and he uses his weird sci-fi power to create the world around him, which there's no explanation for it in the movie. No explanation why he has it. Natalie Emmanuel, the only thing I know her from was Game of Thrones. She stars in it. Dustin Hoffman, Shia LaBeouf, Giancarlo Esposito, Aubrey Plaza, who I really do like, but she was strange in this movie.
Yeah, it's a weird film.
Jon Voight, another actor I like, but weird in this movie. Lawrence Fish. Yeah, Shia LaBeouf was extremely weird, but he's weird. You can get that from him. He gets a pass because he's weird in general. Lawrence Fishburne, he played the kind of his driver, Caesar's driver. He also narrated Adam's driver. Oh my God. He also narrated the film. James Vermeer, I can't remember who that is. Oh, the guy from Dexter's father.
From Dexter, yeah.
Yep, I knew I put it there for a reason. Talia Shire, who was Adrian in the Rocky movies, also
and
sister to Francis. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jason Schwartzman, also related to Francis Ford Coppola, I believe. So he always brings his family. I think so, yeah. He brings his family in there. But the movie's trash. 2.5 out of 5 for me.
Good.
I don't think I want to watch it.
That's
that may be high. I definitely won't watch it again.
I was low on The Crow, and this is worse than The Crow to me, so it's probably a 2.
Okay.
Yep. This movie was just boring. Like, it was like
boring
nothing.
as hell.
It was a big nothing burger. This whole
no
movie
explanation.
What the fuck? Yeah.
No explanation for why Adam Driver has this power to kind of stop time.
Yeah.
I guess. And he creates this. He creates this new megalopolis of a world where everything is supposed to be better for the world. New Rome is what they call it. Very strange movie. So to get that taste out of our mouth this week, we went to the movies. We saw. Well, you saw, and you and I both saw one movie, and that was Gladiator 2. Glad I watched Gladiator 1 because I would have been fully lost in this movie because
I had to check.
I didn't remember
once to remember the names and who was who in the original one. That's why I was looking at my phone at one time.
Yep. But it fulfilled the promise that Marcus Aurelius had in the first movie with Maximus.
Yep.
to lead the charge for a new Rome.
Yep.
Funny that we talked about Megalopolis and Rome is the big picture this week, but this is a whole other better aspect of that.
Great movie. I love this a lot.
This is a really good movie.
The chosen one aspect of this movie that you really kind of got that vibe and from Maximus in the first one, but not really. Like this is like the chosen one type deal.
You actually, by the end of this movie, the last scene of this movie, you actually get that fulfilling prophecy. You're right about that.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not supernatural, but you definitely get that feeling.
Yeah.
Paul Mescal as the
He's
lead.
good.
I don't think I've seen him in anything until now, and I remember they were talking about him maybe being the Human Torch. Funny because Joseph Quinn is in this as well, playing one of the twin emperors.
Now,
but
do you think
he did a fantastic job?
Do you think Joseph Quinn got the job because of this movie, or do you think Pedro got the job because of working with Joseph Quinn? I can't remember who signed first, but a lot of times that'll happen because what's his name got cast as Spider-Man because he was in a movie with Chris Hemsworth about Moby Dick.
Yeah, I don't. Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if that worked out that way or if it's just the luck because they're both just. Well, obviously Pedro's not rising.
They're
actor,
both.
but, like, they're both big.
They're both
big
rising.
names.
Yeah. At that time, yeah. For me, this is a 4 out of 5.
Yep.
And it's very, very good. You got to see it in the theater though, and it's very, very good in the theater. And
even
definitely,
the shitty theater. It wasn't. We didn't even go to RPX. It was the shitty ass theater.
right, and definitely watch the first movie. And it's not that there's a lot. There are flashbacks to the first movie throughout, but there are themes that that will come back by the end of the movie when you see what happens with Paul Mescal as the lead, Lucius, I believe his name is. When he's kind of the son. It's been told in this trailer. He's the son of Maximus, pretty much.
Yeah, which was just alluded to in the first movie, but everyone knew.
Yeah, everybody kind of knew. In this movie, it's shown. It's definitely him.
Don't they mention that Joaquin Phoenix was homosexual? Remember that? She was like, he had a taste for men or something like that? So
yes,
that's why she was up with, which I don't think they explored that at all in the first one. I think that was just to, like, why he was, like, didn't care about her at all in the first movie, basically.
Yeah, I think Pedro Pascal's role in this was great, too.
Yeah.
Kind of had a redemption at the end with even though we won't get into the spoilers.
Yeah.
Joseph Quinn as one of the Emperor
great.
brothers, great. The other one was good too, but he was wacky and weird.
Yeah, he was like autistic, basically, but they didn't know what autism was back then.
The great performance in this is Denzel Washington, but it's Denzel Washington. You already knew that going in.
Yeah.
But and he starts off in the beginning, you kind of like him, and towards the end, you don't.
This movie has like Gladiator was like one linear plot. This movie has a bunch of like subplots to it, which I really enjoyed about it.
Yeah, the saddest part of the first movie is just like he's so close. Like Maximus is so close to getting rule. Like he has his 5,000 troops ready at the helm, and before he can get the word out to get them to come to Rome, everything's taken from him, and he goes and fights. Goes and fights the Emperor in the Colosseum and dies at the end of the first one. But great movie, but even better movie. Wicked Part 1. I went to see it afterwards. Now, you warned me as I was waiting for this movie that good luck with that because there are people outside dressed as wizards, witches. No, not wizards, witches.
I believe the exact quote was, "Good luck. I just saw 2 dudes walking in with witch hats."
Yep. If you don't know what Wicked is, this was a musical. It came out in 2003. And it was based off a book that came out in the 90s, book series. And it's a alternate story or kind of alternate parallel story of the Wizard of Oz, telling the origin of the Wicked Witch of the West. Of course, the book was done by Frank L. Baum 100 years ago, 1900, I believe. Personal legacy for me, very first, only production I've ever saw on a play was The Wizard of Oz. I saw it at the York High School when I was really, really young. But generational, everybody knows The Wizard of Oz. It's one of their first movies that their parents end up watching when they're really, really young. So everybody knows this. It's ingrained in your mind when you're really young. So already there, you get the fan base. Bringing in John Chu, who did Crazy Rich Asians, In the Heights, which I was very high on a couple years ago. He came in to direct
you like that
this.
movie a lot.
Yep. But for me, this is a generational keystone in cinema. We have this throughout the whole decades. Wizard of Oz 30s and 40s. Rodgers and Hammerstein had Carousel. They had all of their movies. King and I in the 50s. West Side Story, Sound of Music in the 60s, Grease in the 70s, all the Disney animation, Lion King and Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast in the 80s and 90s, Frozen in the 2010s. You can even go as far to say Hamilton within the last 5 years. This generation now has their musical keystone, and that would be Wicked. Number one, this is part one. Long ass movie for a part one, considering there's going to be another 2.5 hours to watch next year.
2:43 is the runtime of part two.
Yes,
allegedly.
Very, very, very long movie. But the movie is so colorful, so vibrant. The costumes are outstanding. The design is outstanding.
Yeah, it's going to win some awards.
A lot of people are complaining about the CGI. I had no problem with that. It almost felt like you were being drawn into a painting, to be honest with you.
Gotcha.
Oz for a New Generation. This is done by Universal Studios, not done by MGM, who did the original Judy Garland one. So you're not going to get that same aesthetic. You're not going to get the same characters, same look. You're getting an adaptation from the play and the book mostly. Talked about the original Broadway run starring Adele Dazeem, as John Travolta used to call her.
There will always be a special place in my heart for the movie musical, and for the songs that create their most memorable moments. Here to perform the Oscar-nominated, gorgeously empowering song, Let It Go, from the Oscar-winning animated movie Frozen, please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem.
John Travolta, her name is Idina Menzel. one of the greatest Oscar moments ever. But starring her and Kristen Chenoweth, they became household names. Idina got her work on Frozen because of that. She's been in a whole bunch of Broadway. She was in the first rendition of Rent. They actually cameoed in this movie. But all I could think of was the John Travolta clip. That's why I played it when they were in this movie. The breakout star of this movie, and she's going to get all the awards, Cynthia Erivo. I think that's how you say her last name. She plays the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba. She is incredible. She is spectacular. The way this movie works, it gets slow in the beginning. It's story building, so it's slow. The last act of this movie is spellbinding, mind blowing. The way she works amazingly with Ariana Grande as Glinda, as she says in the movie. Jeff Goldblum comes in as the wizard. Kind of weird casting. Works in this universe, though, so well. Michelle Yeoh comes in as a teacher of the witches school that they belong to. Kind of has some connections to the wizard as well. You get the theatrical, you get theater legacy in this movie. You get LGBTQ anthems and themes in this movie, which is understandable as theater. The story building that this movie did up into the spectacular third act, where you get the Wicked Witch, where you see her being her, and the spell, the Defying Gravity song of this movie at the very end. Sorry, spoilers, but this is the first act of the play. So it ends in the first act of the musical as well. Defying Gravity is the big, huge culmination of what happens to the Wicked Witch, where she finally gets to her power and becomes not necessarily wicked at this point, but she defies gravity. She starts flying with her broom, which we've seen in the trailer. But it's a musical masterpiece, especially that one scene. And up until I would say about the half-hour point, it was about a 4 out of 5 for me. And I listened to the soundtrack this morning. This could fluctuate, but right now it's a 4.5 out of 5. It could fluctuate to a 5 easily, especially once I see part 2 and kind of see the big picture. But right now, 4.5 out of 5. And I think that Cynthia Erivo is just going to get all the awards. And she's getting plenty of praise.
Have you ever seen the
Never
play?
have, but it's definitely one thing I want to do.
For people that really enjoyed this movie, is that they hope it transfers to part 2, because apparently the second part of the play is like the bad part. So
yes,
that's what
I can get that.
I don't know, but I've heard that the second half of the play is like when things
well
as good as the first.
The two songs that are popular for this musical, Popular is in the middle of the first movie, and the end of it is Defying Gravity. Those are the two most popular songs. I don't think the second half of the soundtrack kind of picks up what the weights of those songs would be. So you're right. I don't know how that's going to work. And not knowing the musical, I can't judge it. But yeah, it's a fantastic movie. And it's stunning in the theater. I saw it in RPX. Visually stunning, sound, audio. The picture looked incredible. And at times you felt like you were in like a painting, like I mentioned before. Very good movie. And I suggest, by the way, it's not Gladiator, that's Wicked, but it's a great movie. I suggest you go watch it in the theater if you can. With that being said, let's jump into the news. And it's not a news segment, the trailer roundup. We mentioned it last week. I showed some pictures of it, but we got the very first trailer for How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action remake of this movie. Kind of weird that this animated version came out, I think, 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more, but live-action coming out now. However, they're doing the right thing, and I mentioned it last week, making the character look like the animated version that everybody fell in love with, and it looks, the scene-by-scene looks identical to the animated version. Have you ever seen the original animated?
I saw the first one. I haven't seen the second or third, but I know it's the same director from the original trilogy doing it again. So.
Oh, I did not know that. That's really
the same
cool.
Director, because they were asking
no
him about ideas and who he thinks could handle the live action. He was like, "Why don't I just do it? Like, it's kind of my thing." And they're like, "Oh, okay, that works." And it's the
no wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder it looks shot for shot.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks good. I like that first movie a lot. That reminds me, DreamWorks. That reminds me, you got to get you into the Shrek movies too. You got to watch at least Shrek 1 before the end of the year, because John Lithgow is amazing in that movie. I also got a trailer for an Apple TV show coming on March 26th, and I was kind of wondering where Seth Rogen was. Haven't seen him around lately. The last decade and a half, he was in movies every year. He had a comedy coming out with his writing partner Evan Goldberg. He was always the star of it. Yep. And he's been doing this TV show for Apple TV. Producing, he produces a lot. He does The Boys, of course. Before that, he did
Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff.
Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yep. But he has this new show coming out called The Studio. Very Hollywood movie exec type of movie, starring Catherine O'Hara, Catherine Hahn, Ike Barinholtz, Bryan Cranston, Martin Scorsese is in this, Charlize Theron, Ron Howard. A lot of tongue-in-cheek Hollywood shit going on in this, but it's a TV show coming on Apple TV Plus. Looks pretty good from the trailer. So, also got a new teaser for Alien Earth, set 2 years before Alien. It was revealed in the teaser. We're gonna get some history to that. Comes out sometime next summer on Hulu. Can't wait for that. Weekend box office last week: Red won $34 million, Venom 7.3, and Best Christmas Pageant Ever. What the fuck is that? 5.4 million. Red won. Up until about a month ago, I think it was supposed to be a streaming exclusive, and everybody's calling it a failure, but this movie was not supposed to be in the theater. It was supposed to be on Prime, I think, or Netflix. One of the Netflix,
I believe, because it'll be I think December 22nd. It goes there for real. My question though is like they put it in the theater at like a time where people really aren't getting into Christmas movies yet. Like it's probably about a week too soon. It should have been like in theaters for like a week or two next week instead of now. But,
I don't know what the timing of that is. I don't know why. Maybe it's because this weekend was just so big with the box office with Wicked and Gladiator 2. Maybe that's why they avoided it. But kind of strange. Everybody's calling it a failure, but I don't think they're not paying the money they put into it was Netflix.
$50 million, so that's why they're calling it a failure.
The other thing that keeps getting brought up is we brought it up when Black Adam came out. Is The Rock still a viable movie star? Is he making the box office that he did maybe 10 years ago? Is he still? Can you still rely on him being a star?
Black Adam thing really set him back, huh?
I think it was before. I think it was way before that too. I think COVID may have had a part of it and everything, but I think kind of everybody's kind of lost.
Well, he's a one-trick pony.
Luster. Yeah, right. John Cena's better than him too. Let's be honest. He's
John Cena and Batista.
He's funny.
The best actor.
Batista's the best actor wise. Yeah.
But The Rock kind of has he's basically less successful Ryan Reynolds, because Ryan Reynolds gets the same character in every movie also, but people trust Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, right,
I mean,
right.
and I'm not saying Rock isn't successful at all. Don't fuck, he makes $30 million movies.
He's rich. He could not
He's
work a
incredibly
day in his
successful.
life.
Yeah,
He could not work another day in his life if he wanted to, but
Yeah.
he just wants to keep creating shitty things.
he's all about his brand. That's the issue with him right now. Is he's all about his brand, which when he was going to take over DC, DC was going to become his brand. You know.
Yeah. Talking about TV, movies, we talk about it all the time. Studios. Comcast is planning on taking all of their cable channels and spinning them off and getting rid of them. And they're going to keep all the NBC networks. I believe they're keeping the theme parks, but they're going to be getting rid of USA, MSNBC, all of the other. The only one that I think they're keeping is Bravo, I heard, because that's the only one that has like the Housewives that actually does well in ratings.
Oh yeah.
But everything else they're getting rid of. They just lost. USA just lost Raw. They're just going to Netflix. I know that's big for cable. But yeah, they're just trying to get out of the cable game because nobody has cable. Nobody's watching cable anymore. Everybody's cut the cord, going to Netflix, going to whatever to watch TV now. So not surprised that this is happening, but yeah, that's basically all I had to say. You mentioned it to me off pod. Kevin Smith has talked about doing Dogma 2, wanting Ben Affleck and Matt Damon to return. Everybody's picking up on it, but this is old news. We've heard about this. He's been talking about this even before he got the rights back to... Well, he didn't really necessarily get the rights back, but the Weinsteins lost the rights to Dogma, the first movie, which is going to be coming out on streaming soon, or coming out digitally. But he's talking about how the story for Dogma 2 is in his head. He hasn't written it physically yet. However, he does want to bring in Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to come in and reprise their roles. I've been always talked about, I think I've mentioned on the pod a bunch of times, that Dogma is my favorite Kevin Smith movie. It's just the wide scope of that movie and the actors that he had to come in. Alan Richman? What am I thinking?
Richardson. It's not Richardson,
Well,
it's Richardson.
Richardson, yeah.
That guy.
Wow.
Richardson?
Snape.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Hans
for some
Gruber.
reason, Hans Gruber, Snape. You got Chris Rock. You got the whole entire cast. You get the whole entire View Askew universe in there. Jay and Bob, of course. Just does it for me. That movie was great. And I would love to see a sequel for that. And I think it's a good step forward for him going forward. And I'd love to see them come back, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Also announced this week that Apple Original Films is doing a documentary on Fleetwood Mac, which I love. Directed by Frank Marshall. Not sure when this is coming up. They announced it this week. Dexter, we have 3 weeks left until have 3 weeks left until the new prequel series. So excited about that. But Dexter Resurrection, the next series, already planned after, coming out sometime next year. We know that Michael C. Hall is coming back to play Dexter. We're hoping that it's a sequel to New Blood, where he actually is being indicted, maybe going to trial. Hopefully going back to Miami, we see some of the old faces that we grew and loved in the first series.
I mean, more than likely, they're going to go, the cops are going to go get the body, and the body won't be there, or something like that will happen.
Right.
I have no idea how they're going to do it. Literally.
But news came out this week that they're eyeing 2 stars to star in this. Number 1 being Gillian Anderson from X-Files.
Yep.
The other one being Peter Dinklage, the Dink.
Yes.
Who I really do love. And by the way, he was in Wicked too. He was great in that. He did the voice in it, one of the animated characters. But yeah, I'm kind of excited. I do like the Dink coming back to cable. Be interested to see him and if he does come to that series. Haven't heard anything official yet.
Yep.
But I'm sure we won't until the new Dexter series airs, which I can't wait for the new Dexter. Now that I'm all caught up on that series, I can't wait.
I'm so glad you watched. You chose the right time to watch that because you watched it, and then all of a sudden news came out about these 2 shows.
Yeah.
So it was perfect.
Everything went. I can't. Hold on a minute. What is going on with the headphones tonight? I can't hear you. Hold on.
Okay. Raymond needs to start charging his shit.
Technical difficulties, everybody.
Technical difficulties.
They are fully charged too.
That is odd. It's very odd.
There we go. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh my god, these fucking
Oh
things.
boy.
This
what
is
are you
technology
doing?
for you. This is
Streaming live.
technology for you, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're back. We're back, baby.
Are we back? Can you hear me? Okay, good.
I can hear you this time.
Okay.
Bob Odenkirk got the first picture from Nobody 2. Just talked about Better Call Saul. There he is. That Nobody 1 is a really good movie.
Yes.
So I'm glad they're coming back to a sequel.
Went under the radar because of COVID.
Yeah, yeah. Got the very first pick of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. And we got Oscar Isaac playing the Doctor. And we got Jacob Elordi playing Frankenstein's monster. This comes out on Netflix sometime next year. Yeah, can't wait for that. Got the very first pictures of Now You See Me 2. With all the cast coming, or 3, all new cast coming back, coming out in November of next year. Also got some spy shots of, speaking of The Rock, doing the live action Moana. Looks exactly like this character.
Is that a bodysuit though?
I was thinking that too, because the muscles do look like maybe too much, but then I don't know.
Like I don't think
he's
got that big. Like he's usually big, but he's usually also a little more cut. Like it looks like maybe at least in the midsection he's got some padding.
Well, the character is a little fluffed up in the animated version, so maybe that's what it is.
That's
But
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Also got a new poster for Nosferatu, which comes out Christmas Day. Kind of excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
The cast, I mean, Bill Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, Aaron Taylor Johnson, that alone gets me going. Then you got William Dafoe, Lily Rose Depp, who, the only movie I ever saw her in was Yoga Hosers, which is a shitty movie. But
wasn't she in was she in Once Upon a Time? I know Kevin Smith's
no, but she
might not have
she
been.
was in the show on HBO with The Weeknd. You remember that show that came out? She had like sex scenes. I never saw that, but I heard about that. Speaking of HBO, I just watched Euphoria this summer. Storm Reed, who plays Zendaya's sister, is not coming back, not returning for season 3. She was on the red carpet somewhere talking about she can't wait to see what happens with season 3, but she's not involved. She's not so. Not sure where that story is going. I don't know if that was her own doing or if that was the producer's doing. I don't know where that's coming from, but yeah. Popcorn buckets everywhere. Lord of the Rings War of Rohan coming out next month. A 27-inch Hammer replica popcorn bucket.
What are you gonna do? How are you gonna eat your popcorn with that if you're sitting in the seat? Like the aesthetics of this just does not work. You have to the handle out like this, and then
we are officially
passes. I don't know.
We are officially at the point of no return for these popcorn buckets. Once you get to this point and you have to have your popcorn bucket go to the other seat next to you, there's trouble. 27-inch long weapon. Wow. The other thing we didn't talk about when we went to the movie theater is the amount of merch that they had for Wicked. Crazy. And I've never seen anything like it.
Gladiator merch too.
Yeah, it was mixed in there. But understandably, nobody's going to the theater, but they knew a lot of people were going. So you're going to get a lot of people buying random shit. Probably for an extortionate amount of money, but Robert Pattinson joined the cast of the Christopher Nolan film, the mysterious Christopher Nolan film that everybody's joining.
The new
you got Batman,
Nolan and Pattinson.
You got Batman and you got Spider-Man going to be in the same movie starring together. He was great in Nolan's Tenet. Great in that movie. Yep. So I'm excited to see him coming back with Christopher Nolan.
I gotta respect his career. He could have gone the easy route, the trope route, and just been like the next heartthrob. And he decided to just do lower movies for less money and actually work on his acting. Like he easily could have been like a heartthrob for a solid 10 years, like after Twilight. And he didn't want anything to do with that because of Twilight. So respect to Robert Pattinson.
Yep. Dan Aykroyd's talking a lot. I'd probably talk about the SNL movie if I had to guess or something, but went on the record saying that he doesn't see himself or Bill Murray returning to Ghostbusters after the last movie. He said there's a whole other new generation, new cast. Let them do it from this point forward. They get new ideas. I think probably they're going to move on to advancing it beyond the originals, which they should. I don't know if I agree with him wholeheartedly, but nostalgia for that movie was kind of ruined in the last. I don't know what your feelings. We're a few months out of watching that new one that came out this year. A little bit disappointed by it. We both talked about that. nostalgia may have rubbed off a little bit from the first reboot.
Yeah.
Jason Reitman not coming back may have been a factor for that. I don't know, but also too many Ghostbusters.
Yeah, too many.
Way too many. But Javier Bardem is going to star in a Cape Fear TV series at Apple. Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese are going to produce. I know this was Cape Fear, a great movie in the 90s. I know it was a remake from the 50s, I believe. But Javier Bardem as the Jake, whatever his name is, from Robert De Niro did from the 90s movie, which was a great performance. Javier Bardem is can be a menacing character. I liked him better in Bond than I did in No Country for Old Men, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I think he did a great job in Bond, but yeah, he probably could do a great job in that Cape Fear remake.
He was awesome
I'm
in
not sure.
that Netflix series about the Menendez brothers. He plays the father. He was great in that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was in that too. Yeah, I'm not sure why we need a 10-hour series of this, but yeah. A sequel to Wild Hogs may possibly be in the works at Disney. Wild Hogs came out about 15 years ago, probably, with John Travolta.
Yep. I remember.
William H. Macy, Martin Lawrence, and Tim the Toolman Taylor himself. Not sure why we need a second one. Maybe Scientology money is drying up for John Travolta. I don't know, but yeah, I actually saw this movie in the theater. That's how sad my life was.
Oh
back
boy.
then. David Spade and Theo Vaughn are going to star in a buddy comedy called Bus Boys. I like Theo Vaughn. Very strange. I can understand why people don't like him. But they wrote it and are self-financing the movie completely. Buddy movie. That's kind of cool. Sad news at Disney today. They're getting rid of the Muppet 3D ride, which was one of my favorite rides at Universal at Hollywood Studios, which used to be MGM Studios. They're replacing it with the Monsters Inc. land, which Monsters Inc. is a huge franchise for Disney. Understandable. They're not getting rid of Muppets completely, but they are going to be replacing the rocket coaster, which I believe was Aerosmith. They're replacing it with Muppets. So but they are getting rid of the 3D. The 3D ride was the very last thing that Jim Henson worked on before he died. He was actually, there's a picture I have here of him on set as they're filming it. This is within a few months of him dying. But yeah, it was that's one of my favorites. Interactive 3D. One of the very first 3D things I think I ever saw before 3D became a thing 10 years ago, whenever. But yeah, it was sad. Still pissed off they got rid of the Back to the Future ride at Universal Studios. I'll always be pissed off about that. I saw you post this on Twitter. I want to talk about it. Henry Cavill will be playing a 500-year-old martial artist on the Highlander reboot.
Yes.
Big opportunity for action, says the director.
I have thoughts. You know what my
What are your
thoughts
thoughts?
are? Henry Cavill, more than likely, can't do a Scottish accent for shit, so this is the way they're going.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
That's my theory. Love him as Superman. He's not the greatest actor, but I like him in everything he's been in.
Yeah.
You know me, I love Cavill.
Yeah.
But that's just when I saw that just came in my head, is that he probably can't do a very good Scottish accent, which can be tough to do. I mean, I couldn't do an accent for shit, so.
No. Speaking of Henry Cavill, getting into Star Wars news of the week, rumors that he has been in talks for a potential role in Simon Kinberg's trilogy.
Yes. Make him the
Don't
bad
know
guy.
anything other than that. Could be
Make him the bad
possible.
guy. He's
Could be possible.
wanted to be in a Star Wars movie for a long time.
I know. I do know that.
He
Yeah.
loves Star Wars. I mean, he's one of us. He's literally a nerd and a geek like us. So that'd be awesome if he finally got that chance.
The Star Wars movie that was scheduled for 2026 has been removed from Disney's release schedule. I'm pretty sure you said when this was announced that just go back to the end of the year, come back to us in the end of the year when this movie is canceled, and we'll. I can't remember when this was actually announced. But
And I said the
you
same
predicted,
thing about.
You predicted
I said the
it.
same thing about Kinberg. I said check
Yeah, you
back in
did.
6 months.
You did.
So we'll wait on that. But
Here we are. It's
Yep.
canceled. At least moved. Got a brand new look at Andor Season 2, which comes out on April 22nd. We got some new photos of the cast and the crew and everything going on. Andor Season 1 was good. Andor Season 2, I think, is going to be a lot better because this is Rogue One.
Yes.
Kind of the kind of what we wanted, what was missing from Rogue One, we're actually going to see in this. So I'm excited about that. I mentioned it just
Yes.
last week
You did.
that there was never a Back to the Future train that was ever released as a toy. Fig Arts, who does all these Japanese figures, is releasing, I believe it's a limited edition train for the Back to the Future train. I still wish Lionel would do it so I could actually use it on a Lionel track, but this is the closest and the only thing I've ever seen for a train from Back to the Future.
Do we got a
from
price
the
on that bad boy?
finale. If it's limited, I'm guessing it's thousands. If I were to guess, it's going to be very rare. And once the market goes up on eBay, when it sells out, it's going to be ridiculous because it's very rare to have one of these.
We
It's
can't have
sad,
nice
but
things.
no. I forgot to play this sounder. I just love it. And this is no exception. I think this figure looks fucking awesome. Clayface. Mondo has some great figures. I didn't realize how great they were, especially for the animated stuff from the 90s. Clayface from the animated series, but you got Batman living in his... That's pretty awesome.
I love Clayface.
Very awesome.
Very underrated villain.
I love Clayface, too. Oh, we got up next. Oh, and speaking of Mondo, they're coming out with the symbiote Spider-Man on top of the Venom I talked about a few weeks ago.
Nice.
I love that whole saga with the animated series. So that's really cool. Steve Toussaint, don't know
Yep.
the name, but he was
Game of
in
Thrones.
House
Yep.
of Dragons. He played the guy, the
Sea
black
Snake.
guy with the white hair, the sea snake. Yeah, I can remember his name. He's been officially cast in Eyes of Wakanda. I don't know what he's going to be doing in that movie, but he's been cast as one of the voices. Getting into the DC news and ending the show with that this week. Absolute Batman #1 is the highest selling grossing comic of
yeah.
2024.
Yep.
Sold 4 million copies. You and I both bought them. I bought the digital. You bought the
issue
physical.
2 is
Cool.
fucking awesome. The last
Awesome.
page is the new Batmobile. So when we're done here, do a Googs and check that out because
Okay.
it is
Do a
a fuck.
Googs.
Like, it was a fucking tank. Like when I say tank, like it's like the Technodrome or some shit like that. Like it's like
Wow.
it's like 3 stories. It's got like guns and shit. Oh, looks
Wow.
badass. Yeah, great issue. And I've been reading Absolute Superman also. I'll just go over this real quick because I did take notes on Absolute Superman.
Okay.
His parents, basically it starts off in Krypton. He's 10 years old when the planet blows up. His parents are the lowest level workers on the planet, which is why they have that S. So that's why he wears the S on his chest in this series, because that signifies that they're low level.
Okay.
His father, because they're low level, is basically a miner. Like he's in the mines and shit like that.
Okay.
Peacemaker is in it. I told you that over text.
Yep.
There's a bunch of peacemakers. When he's on planet Earth, he goes to Brazil to help out this mining colony, and the peacemakers are basically treating him like slaves. His suit is nanotech, so you get a lot of like Tony Stark type stuff in it, which is really cool. And he's like 10 when the planet blows up. I'm really looking forward to issue #2 to get some more backstory into the planet blowing up and stuff like that, because they don't really get into that too much. They just have some panels before it blows up in the first issue. So both Absolute Superman and Batman are great. Absolute Wonder Woman is also very good. I just don't have notes on it. But this series is awesome. Flash comes out in March. The writer Scott Snyder recently mentioned that he has been signed up for multiple years. So the first issue is going to be a 5-issue run, and he hopes it'll go for the foreseeable future. So I assume eventually we'll get Absolute Justice League, which would be beautiful.
Awesome. This next story, I don't know. Have you heard anything? I saw this article. I wanted to bring it up to you. An animated trilogy based on the
I saw
Nightfall.
that, yep.
I don't know anything about it. I don't think the internet really did either. The only thing I know is Nightfall was right around the time I was buying comic books in the actual store. I know you just bought the
Right there.
the collected edition of that too. That's where Bane broke Batman's back.
Yep.
Animated version of that. Anson Mount and Pablo Schreiber, who was in Halo, he played Master
Yep.
Chief, the new series.
I love
Are
that.
reportedly in that animated movie.
Good.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know
That'd be
anything
awesome.
about it other than that. Is it Ziesel? Is the character is
Yep.
Ziel, or I can't remember what his name is in that, but Alan Tudyk is going to be playing Clayface in Creature Commandos, which comes out in just a couple of weeks. Excited for that. James Bond himself, Daniel Craig, has been in talks to be in James Gunn's DCU as Sergeant Rock.
Yep. And of course, a lot of people are saying, why is he doing a Sergeant Rock movie? Why isn't he getting to like Wonder Woman and stuff? My whole thing about this is he's taking pictures for anybody in DC, and if he likes the pitch, I think he'll go forward with the project. And Sergeant Rock gives him the chance. I think with the DCU, he's treating it like an actual, not just a superhero universe, but like a movie universe. So I think this is his in to get like a nice World War II story out of it, because Sergeant Rock doesn't have any powers. He's been dead in the comics since World War II. So I just think it's his chance to, and also this movie would probably still be another 5 years out. So the universe will be going by then. That's how I look at it. A movie like this where I think, we're going to get everyone we want to eventually, but hopefully if everything goes right with Superman, that movie has a lot on its shoulders. But I do think that this gives him an in. Plus, I believe Sergeant Rock is featured in Creature Commandos in the background of the show. So, I mean, it'd be kind of cool to see like a World War II movie with like maybe the Justice League of America in it, or something like that, or like anything like that. I think it'd be interesting. It'd be a very different take on any superhero movie we've really seen. Of course, you had World War II with Chris Evans and whatnot, but I think it'd be cool. It'd be interesting.
The other thing I didn't have in the notes, but Waller, he did say on Twitter, I believe, that that's still in development. Because we're not sure the stuff that he announced last year. We're not sure what's still in development. He said that some stuff is, some stuff isn't. Waller is still in development. There was another one too that he mentioned was still in development too. But be interesting to see what that slate is actually looking at. I think we'll know more Comic-Con maybe next year or the year after. We'll know more. But also speaking of James Gunn, he said almost all of Peacemaker Season 1 is canon except for one scene. And that's the end scene with the Justice League, and supposedly the next season will deal with that in a way. Talking about why.
And a lot of certain people are on his ass about this. But I'm like, this is kind of how it works in comics when you reboot a character or semi-reboot a characters. They talk about things that happened in the past, but it doesn't mean everything's going to transfer over to the new. So, I mean, that's how I look at it.
Speaking of certain fan base, I did not realize how volatile the comment section on James Gunn's posts are.
Oh my god. and they wonder why he won't fucking release the air cut.
Right. That's what it is. It's all air cut stuff.
Like bitches. All they do is act like bitches. And they act like kids who didn't get what they wanted for Christmas.
That's exactly what it was. It was one of the last posts I saw from him was, "Where's the air cut? Release the air cut." It's like, wow, guys, leave him alone.
That's why, like, my rule, especially now, is I don't talk about DC Snyder stuff anymore on Twitter. I just talk about what he's doing now because it's just such a volatile place.
It's exhausting.
And the people that think, because it's a big deal on Twitter, think that's the real world. That's not true. They need to touch grass and grab a bar of soap next time they hit the water. But, I mean, it's bad. Like, and now the worst part is you can't even block people on Twitter because you'll still see their posts.
Right.
So it's fucking awful. Like, I like Snyder. What he did was great, and I think it worked great as an Elseworld story. That's how it's always kind of felt to me. But, I mean, I do want to see the air cut release. I will throw out a hashtag on December 6th, I think, is the trending event or whatever. But that's because I do love David Ayer. I love his movies. Everything since Training Day has had an impact on my life. So, but yeah, they've been ridiculous since he did this interview on IGN. They have torn it apart. They're like, look at him, he's laughing. Why is he not taking this seriously? And it's like, that's just who James Gunn is. He's a big kid. Like, that's who James Gunn is. So, like,
I'm sorry, but that's who I want to run. I want somebody that's not so serious to run.
And also, when he was talking about,
like this.
They all talk about, like, it's quote unquote, he's only doing projects James Gunn wants to see. There's an interview with Zach from 2010 or 11 where he literally says, I don't make movies for everyone else but myself.
Yeah.
That's it. He's like, I'm the only one I'm trying to satisfy. Because if you try to satisfy other people, then you're not going to make a good movie. So, like, do what you want to do. Like, and then that's why James Gunn's handing Supergirl off to somebody else. Because that's not something that he would be able to put his whole heart into. So, it's a very volatile place right now online, which is why I like Blue Sky a lot. I love Blue Sky. It's a great app. I recommend
Yeah.
download it.
Geek,
It's Twitter
Geek Blurb
without
is
the
on.
hate. Yeah.
Geek Blurb is on Blue Sky. You're on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Speaking of James Gunn, Lanterns. We talked about last week that Peacemaker is going to be releasing right after Superman. Lanterns will release right around the same time as Supergirl in 2026. I'm kind of excited about both those projects, especially after reading the comic book for Supergirl. I'm excited for that, but that'd be cool. 2026 is looking good.
Yep.
Lanterns is going to be very grounded, very believable, very real. James Gunn saying the kind of thing that you would never think that would be the truth about a Green Lantern television series, and very human, adult, and wonderful. I'm very excited about that too.
That's pretty much what I gathered when he said it was going to be based on True Detective.
Yeah.
I think something's going to happen in the Superman movie that'll cause them to come to Earth.
Finally, in
That's how I
news,
feel.
speaking of Superman, Frank Grillo has seen the Superman trailer, and his reaction is awesome. In the little reaction blurb that I saw online, he says, "I got a sneak peek at the little bit of the trailer, and I'm not joking. I'm not blowing this out of proportion. My skin was hot, and I had goosebumps. That's how great it is.
And-
the hype is real, people.
Yep.
Another
Thinking
month
about-
we'll see this.
Thinking about the trailer, I mean, I don't put too much stock in what he said because he's in the movie, but
Yes.
the trailer is supposed to come out this month. So Sunday, December 15th would be the anniversary of Superman 78 releasing in theaters. So a lot of people think it's
Okay.
going to be released online then or be put in front of Mufasa, which I don't know. When does Mufasa come out? Does that come out that weekend? If that comes out that weekend, I could see
Next weekend.
Oh,
isn't it?
Mufasa's out. No, I thought it was out around Christmas.
Or is that no Moana's next weekend? Yeah,
Moana,
that's
yeah.
in December. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's what it is.
probably
Yep.
mid-December. So it'll probably be around the middle of the month, is my guess. And it's great they're attaching trailers now to movies. Like growing up, that's what we always. That's the only way we could see trailers growing up. And a lot of times we had no idea what trailers were coming in. It's like in that 4:30 movie, where they're like wondering what trailers they're going to see before the movie and stuff like that. Like that was the excitement.
Yeah.
And I like that they're packaging stuff. Like they packaged Nosferatu in front of the bike riders, which I had no idea about until I went to see it.
Yeah.
So I like it. It's a good. I mean, they got to get people back in theaters somehow, and maybe
Yep.
packaging a trailer in front of a movie like Mufasa will get buzz out about the movie. Plus, extra people will see it that maybe wouldn't have seen it.
Well, we
Like
talked
now, I
about
know
it
I'm going. I'm going to Mufasa if the trailer's in front of it. See it
we
on the
talked
big
about
screen.
it when we were talking about Nosferatu. We talked about it back then, where
Yep.
back in the day, the only way you could watch I believe it was Attack of the Clones, the first trailer. Maybe it was Phantom
It was
Menace.
Phantom
No, it
Menace.
was Attack.
Phantom Menace.
You had to go see Monsters Inc. That was the
Yes.
only way. It wasn't online. They didn't release it online. You're right. It's a great way of bringing people in, and I did like that idea when the Nosferatu
Yes.
trailer was released. That's it for the show. That's it for this week. Next week, Shrinking Episode 8. Maybe the finale. May not be. We're not sure. You're going to watch Dune Prophecy. Let me know how that is. If it gets good, I may watch that.
Watch the first
this is
episode.
gonna-
Let me know. Watch the first episode.
Okay.
It's good.
Next week is the last week of basketball movies. I'm going to leave this up to you. We got Hustle. This is the movie, I believe, with... It's either... Hustle is the one with Adam Sandler that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, the guy from the Celtics is in that movie.
Yes. Love and Basketball. Another early 2000s movie, I
That's
believe.
Omar Epps, right?
I believe so. And The Way Back, that was
Let's
Ben
watch
Affleck.
The Way Back. We'll do
Okay.
The Way Back because I have not seen that yet. So
Yeah, we'll do that next week then. We Live in Time, new movie with Andrew Garfield, Florence Pugh came out today. We may review that next week. Smile 2 also came out today. May save that for Halloween, but didn't mention it on the pod. Coming out on Monday, weird time, but I'm going to review it for next week. So I'm very excited about this. Dear Santa. This is a Jack Black movie where the little kid writes to Santa and spells his name wrong and spells it Satan. So Jack Black as Satan comes in dressed as Santa Claus and harasses this kid and tries to take his soul. Comes out on Paramount Plus next week. I'm very excited about that. We got Thanksgiving next week, so everybody enjoy your turkey. Enjoy your family, if you have family to go see.
yep.
And we will talk to everybody then. Peace.
Deuces.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you. Talking all things geeky, from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you wanna be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Cheap Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds. Rating movies and pineapples, our opinions never blur. Join us each week for a geeky chat with the latest news and a dose of nostalgia back. So if you're a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi and all its maze, tune in to Cheap Blurb, we're here to entertain, bringing you the best